Hey everybody, time for another game theory video. And if you like the videos, like, subscribe, silly comment, share, support the channel if you can. I appreciate it. Thanks. Super chat, PayPal, Patreon, super comment the video. If you do support the channel again, it does help. I appreciate it. Thank you. Today we'll be joined by the peaceful, pondering Clayton of Peace today, as we discuss two characters that perhaps share more things in common than you might realize, right? Two characters that in their respective games, let's say Super Turbo and the original Street Fighter Alpha, perhaps are some of the more annoying characters to fight first, right? But they are characters that, again, when I talk about they share some similarities that you might not think of at face value. They are characters that in some of the strengths of their character, there are also some weaknesses, right? And again, my videos often talk about how the homogenization of games is killing them, right? And characters need to be able to hold their weakness, let's say, right? And I often talk about that having too many options is bad for a game, right? And that's what I want to show off in this video, right? Because Guy and Balrog actually share some similar things that you might not realize. And we're going to focus on Balrog's headbutt and Guy's hurricane kick, right? And not shown because I don't actually have sprites to show it, but Guy and Balrog are also similar in that they also have a similar block, and that when they would block in their respective games, they were harder to cross up than other characters, right? But let's focus on the headbutt and the hurricane kick, right? And their similarities, talking about game theory, right? So we got Balrog and Super Turbo, right? Obviously, headbutt, very invincible in the game. Goes through fireballs, it can beat DPs, whatever. The move can be kind of obnoxious, right? But the move does have a specific weakness, you could say, besides the charge time, right? And that would be because the move is slow, it's a easier move to safe jump, right, in Super Turbo. So because of this, Balrog, although the headbutt has many strengths, right, it does have a specific weakness that Balrog must hold. It's a weakness that can be exploited, right? Now, if we were to compare this to a character like Guy, right? Guy's hurricane kick also is slow, right? It is a weakness that if we're to think it, maybe at face value, if you don't know anything about Street Fighter Alpha, the original, you're like, oh, okay, this move has a weakness. And it's a move that is not actually super invincible if we were to go back and look at this picture here, right? Balrog's headbutt is more invincible. We can see blue in Guy's hurricane kick, right? So this means that Guy's hurricane kick actually, if you have a move with a big hurt box, you can kind of subject him to stupid shit that he just generally can't get out of very easily. I've showed many videos showing that you can actually exploit this move pretty badly, right? And even because it's slower, it's actually quite specific, more specific than you might think, right? And even the super, if we're to say, well, geez, Guy's super isn't fat, we'd have to do a kick super there, which doesn't juggle in the original Street Fighter Alpha. So we can see that Guy's hurricane kick, despite being a strong move, right, despite having a obnoxious hurt box or hitbox, it does have specific weaknesses, kind of like Balrog, right? And that it's slow, right? And that you can use specific moves to combat it, right? However, and this is what I talk about when I say that having too many options in games is bad, right? Something they did in Street Fighter Alpha is they added rolling. And rolling is not only a problem in Street Fighter Alpha and Street Fighter Alpha 2, oh my god, they added just little punch rolls that you don't even have the guessing game, so to speak, right? But rolling makes it so you don't have to hold this weakness, right? And it adds a chaotic nature to Street Fighter Alpha 1 that is probably one of the most actual frustrating and badly designed things about the game. So what I mean by that is, well, okay, let's say this. We hurricane kick, right? Now, if we're to think about a regular game, we should be able to safe jump, right? But, oh, wait, you can just roll. So normally we would think if rolling didn't exist like this, man, we can safe jump Guy all day. move is super slow, and we can see the blue hurt box on him, right? So, I mean, you can exploit the hurricane kick as much as the hurricane kick itself is exploitable as being a strong move. It also has a pretty distinct weakness, right? But Street Fighter Alpha is a game, oh my God, I hope you weren't going for the safe jump there. Fuck, you just blew up and lost half your life, right? Now, of course, the chaotic nature of Street Fighter Alpha, you can try to bait this and, you can do half-life to him. Or if you have super, oh my God, there goes like 70, 80% of his life. But this is like a guessing game that can be very annoying, and it makes Street Fighter Alpha 1 and even Street Fighter Alpha 2 to an extent, but you don't have to play with the guessing game where you're like, oh my God, coin flip, you know what I mean? You're just like, oh, I guess I can little punch roll and keep myself quotation marks safe, right? So, oh my God, I got hit by a slide with Guy. Well, does Guy go for a safe jump setup or does he roll? Well, he's going to guess, and guess what? He guessed right there, and so boom. Oh God, he just won the match because you got dizzy. That is what I talk about, that having too many options in a game is bad, because one of the most frustrating things about Street Fighter Alpha is that things aren't really guaranteed in the game, and it adds a lot of guessing to the game. Now, devil's advocate, you could say, is that Street Fighter Alpha, despite getting a lot of hate in the community, and, I would say that it's a misunderstood game, I should say, right? Like, people put Street Fighter Alpha 2 on a pedestal, right? Despite Street Fighter Alpha 2, admittedly, it's a cool game. It's an aesthetically pleasing game, right? It's certainly more cool than Street Fighter Alpha 1, but Street Fighter Alpha 2 is a game that is just full of just retarded ideas and not thought out things, right? Again, little punch roll, right? You don't even, in Street Fighter Alpha 1, it is the guessing game. You're coin flipping, because guess what? Do you take the mix up or do you roll to try to get out of it? But if the guy guesses the roll, many characters instantly kill you. And again, devil's advocate is it is a bit of a balancing factor, because you think about, say a character like Akuma. Akuma's fireball is still very powerful in the game, right? Say a character like Dan, who is weaker in the game, but maybe devil's advocate, you need rolling because you got to make a character like Akuma guess what he's going to do so you can have a chance to get back in the match, right? So there is a bit of a balancing factor that you could say that rolling does do, because since you have to guess, since nothing is guaranteed, it always gives the opponent or the person that is getting knocked down a chance to get back into the match, because they can coin flip to get back into the match. But it also makes the game feel very spazzy and chaotic. And people don't like, generally speaking, always having to guess something, right? Because it makes it feel not real. Because you can never guess 100% of the time, right? Again, devil's advocate, does it balance the game in a sort of ghetto fashion? Maybe it does, but it doesn't feel good. And it doesn't actually show, because of something like that, when we think about, say, if we were to say correlation doesn't equal causation, right? Is Guy a character that is kind of stupid in Street Fighter Alpha? Yeah, he is. But believe it or not, Guy is a character that has a lot of weaknesses. Maybe not a lot of weaknesses, but he is a character that was designed with some pretty clear weaknesses in Street Fighter Alpha, right? Because of the balance of the chaos. But unfortunately, because of the game itself, when I talk about correlation doesn't equal causation, the game itself doesn't punish Guy for his weaknesses as much as it should, right? Because he doesn't have to hold the weakness of the way his hurricane kick was designed, because of the way that rolling works and being able to roll 99% of everything in the game. And Guy is a character that kills you very quickly off a coin flip, right? He's one of the most powerful coin flip characters in the game. And even if the guy doesn't roll, like I said, one of the things that makes Guy feel broken in Street Fighter Alpha is his overhead is still very powerful in Street Fighter Alpha. Whereas if we're to compare to, say, Super Turbo, look at Ryu's Super Turbo overhead versus overhead in, Street Fighter Alpha. It's night and day. Whereas Guy still has a powerful overhead in the original Street Fighter Alpha. But again, this is an example of two characters that actually share something pretty similar. Very powerful dragon punches, right? What is the weakness of Balrog? It's slow and it's a charge move. What is the weakness of Guy's Hurricane Kick? It's actually not really totally invincible and it's slow. And if you can get to him, you can exploit it with a lot of characters just by... he just doesn't have a move that actually beats it, right? And you can throw the Hurricane Kick as well, right? But because Street Fighter Alpha, it allows you to roll, you don't get to exploit this weakness. And this is why, again, I talk about too many options in video games are bad, right? Even when I've talked about how I would change Street Fighter, if I have delay get up and rolls and all that kind of stuff, I would actually make that take your EX bar, right? It should take you something to get out of guaranteed stuff. And believe it or not, people tend to like something that is guaranteed. Not that there should be no guessing in fighting games. Of course, there should be guessing, right? But you need guaranteed stuff, right? Anyway, remember if you like the videos, like, sub, silly comment, share, support the channel if you can. Appreciate it. Thanks. The end.